going on, everybody? Welcome back to the NASCAR Nuts and Bolts podcast for episode 12. I'm your host, Thomas, joined by my co-hosts, Caleb and Gene. How you guys doing today?
Doing good on this fine evening. Glad to be back home from Bristol. I hate to leave it, but it's good to be back in the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. But doing good, feeling good, and glad we got to see a good race yesterday.
Yeah, doing good. I'm glad I got to hang out with you fellas for about 8 hours yesterday or however long it was, getting up to Bristol and then just hanging out, walking around all the festivities outside the track, then obviously going in and seeing that awesome race. So I tell you, I was talking to Caleb just now before the show, talking about how I don't know, man. Thunder Valley, it seems like a can't miss spot for us, being about 3 hours, a little under 3 hours away from Charlotte area. You can just run up there on a day trip, or you can get a hotel and make a weekend of it. Man, it's just awesome.
For sure. I was saying Bristol might be kind of like your Daytona. I think I might be in there every time. Every time they're racing there, man. That might be my ticket. I think that's one that we got to get Thomas to the night race to now. So I'm all for it.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
man, that was my first ever Bristol race yesterday, and I wasn't really sure what to expect, given how short track racing has been recently. But I was pleasantly surprised with that race, and I have to say, I'm gonna have to make Bristol a part of my schedule from here on out. So that was really cool to be able to experience that for the first time.
Now, Thomas, I gotta ask you during the intro here. You mentioned Bristol might be your ticket from here on out, but kind of just tell the listeners as a first time fan going to Bristol. Bristol, of course, has a lot of history, a lot of experience. With Darrell Waltrip dominating there, and you have a lot of historic moments like bump and run and Swan Rallis Cage. I beat your favorite driver, and of course, it's Bristol, baby, as Junior would say. So, Thomas, I just want you to kind of just tell the listeners, like, what was your experience like getting to the track, getting at the track, experience the festivities outside of the track, and like, what was your experience as a first time fan, just like walking up through the grandstands, then just seeing the track, seeing the Coliseum when you first walk in?
I have to say, I've seen and growing up, you're watching Bristol or whatever, and you see a bunch of different clips and a bunch of different races from the track, but nothing compares to the experience when you actually walk in there and you see it and you see like what it actually looks like in the scale and everything. And it's really cool. And, looking back at some of the most famous moments at Bristol, you're like, man, that actually happened like right here. And you're like, visioning it in your head, seeing Earnhardt spin Labonte or whatever it is, Gordon move Rusty Wallace, whatever it is, you're thinking like, man, that happened right here. And it's like so cool to see that and to see, the banking, some of the tracks you see on TV, it doesn't do the banking justice and stuff until you go and see it and look at it and, be able to, tell how it actually is. But as far as the stuff outside the track, I mean, I have to say that's probably been the best that I've been to as far as all the diecast tents and all the different things to do. Every track is going to have, your typical, NASCAR haulers outside, selling merch or whatever, but not many tracks are going to have to that extent the amount of extra people, like vendors out there selling food or diecast or clothes or whatever it may be. But overall, the experience was, I would have to say, better than I was expecting. And for anybody who's wanting to go to a NASCAR race, for the first time or just to go and see what it's all about, I would definitely recommend Bristol as one of the tracks to go to. I was very surprised, and it was a great race.
Yeah, we could have spent probably another 2 hours outside the track visiting all these independent diecast dealers and T-shirt sellers, and um, we walked away with a few things. I'll tell listeners I had about 5 diecasts I wanted to buy, and then there's this particular vendor who sells like display cases. And when we walked in, I looked around. Really wasn't in the market for a display case for diecast, so we finished shopping. We're passing by this guy, and he's carrying this 8-car 124 display case in the shape of a Chevy bow tie. And man, Caleb, you probably saw my face. My jaw dropped when I saw him walking with that.
I, I thought you was gonna mug the guy if you didn't catch him.
Yeah, I ran up to this dude, probably scared the heck out of him. I said, "Hey man, where'd you get that?" And he's like, "Oh, I got it over here at this display case guy." Went in there, got the last one, and hauled it all the way back to my car or truck just to put it up so I don't have to lug it around, man. And I'm gonna try and figure out a way to display it in my room here. But that's what I ended up with. Thomas, you got a couple diecasts and some things there. And Caleb, you were pretty conservative. I think you probably eBay and Facebook Marketplace is you need anything.
I am safe to say I walked away empty-handed, unlike my other two co-hosts here. All I gotta say is I came back from Bristol with a free program this year, so I'll chop that off as a win.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
have to add, it took a lot of self-control to only buy what I did. I saw so many things that I wanted, and it took a lot of self-control to not buy it. But I also wanted to say, when we were carrying that display case back to the truck, you had a lot of people eyeing that case. I mean, it was getting to the point where I suggested, one of us to stand on either side of you in case somebody tried to snatch it. I mean,
Yeah,
I was,
surprised you didn't have broken back window out of that Chevy Silverado when you got back to the truck last night.
Yeah, I did hide it a little bit with some clothing pieces and stuff when I put it in the back. I didn't really pay attention to it. A couple people stopped and said something. They like, "Oh, we'll take that off your hands." And I didn't, everybody's friendly at NASCAR races, so I didn't think nothing about it. But the more I started to see when Thomas kept pointing them out, he said, "Oh man, look at that guy looking at this." It started getting me nervous, man. I clutched that thing a little tight on the walk back to the car, and it's. I've been looking. I was telling the boys I was looking for this case probably for over 10 years. Last time I saw it was at a independent vendor at Charlotte Motor Speedway, probably in the early 2010s, and I didn't get it then. And I've been scouring eBay and all these places, and finally, man, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, it really, that dude probably could have charged me double for what I paid for it, and I'd have still bought it. But yeah, super happy to get that, of course, and then just awesome time there with y'all.
So Thomas, I do have to ask, what is a diecast that you regret not buying at the
yeah,
Speedway this weekend?
It was like the very first tent that we stopped at. Gene pointed out, I think it was a 2016 Harvick flash coat diecast, and it was marked at only like $40, and I was like, yeah, I think I'll get it, but as you know, there's like 6 or 7 tents just lined up full of stuff, so you didn't want to spend your money or make a decision that early. So so I passed on it, and I ended up looking at the tents. I ended up buying something else. I didn't really think anything about it, but earlier on today, went on eBay to see if I could find one for cheap because I wanted to get it, and I regretted not buying it. Turns out they're like 150, 160, for that diecast that was only for 40. So now I feel stupid not buying it. But I don't know why it was marked so cheap at the diecast tent, but
Yeah.
man, I don't know.
I tell you, the only solace you could take, man, you come back with us in the Bristol night race, that same dealer will still be there, and you never know, man. It still might be there for $40. So we'll have to check it out.
I'm gonna tell you what I've noticed. I think there's more vendors out there during the night race than it is the spring race. I'd wholeheartedly believe that.
Even more than what was yesterday?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Especially lined up across the street. It was I think there was less this year, well, and at least in the spring than it was in the fall. But I definitely say there was more vendors across the street in the fall night race than it was in the spring this year.
Yeah, I had to trust Caleb on that because I can't. It all felt the same to me, but now that I think about it, Caleb, across the street for sure, I could. Yeah. I think it was a lot more there in the playoff race.
Yeah.
All right, you guys got anything else to add for the intro?
Yeah, I was gonna say this for later, but I'll knock mine down real quick. I normally don't shout out some other pods and stuff. Well, I guess I do sometimes, but man, if y'all, one of my rituals on Monday morning when I'm driving into work is when I get in my car to go to work, the teardown is usually queued up and ready to go with Jordan Bianchi and Jeff Gluck of The Athletic, and they're now part of Dirty Mo Media. Man, what a great I mean, their initial raw reaction, they're awesome. Journalists for NASCAR via The Athletic. They go to a lot of these races, and they're just two good dudes. But man, when I tell you, each show's about an hour. And I forgot about this last year. Jeff Gluck did a rap at the end of one of the episodes after the Bristol dirt race. He basically was just happy it was over. The dirt experiment was over in Bristol, and he did a rap about it. Jeff's probably just a little bit younger than me, but not that much. So it's kind of like a dad rap. But anyway, he dropped another track, so to speak, after last night's episode of the Teardown, and it's the last 5 minutes. And I tell you, boys, if y'all want to laugh, I almost wrecked the car laughing, man, at this dude. And a shout out to Jeff Gluck, because that was amazing. He did a full on rap to the T. I mean, it's even funnier if you go on and watch the video of it, because Jordan's about to fall out of his chair too, and it's just funny, man. But shout out to the boys at the Teardown for that.
So what I'm hearing is you're going to release your diss track at the end of this podcast here. Like the last 5 minutes, you're dropping your diss track to to the Teardown.
Man, listen, if I could get away half as good as what I think Jeff Gluck does, man, I would do it. But I couldn't even hold a candle to what he did. It's pretty doggone funny. But yeah, that was my intro piece I wanted to get out.
What about you, Caleb? You got anything?
I'm good, man.
All right, guys. So for the racing rundown tonight, we will be recapping the Food City 500 at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Guys, what were your thoughts on the race? Caleb, I'll kick it to you first.
I thought this race, looking back on it, being at it, Bristol, their whole Food City 500 theme for this weekend was a throwback race, and to me, that's exactly what this race was. This was a classic Bristol race from the 1980s, mid-1980s, when Darrell Waltrip was kicking everybody's butt, Earnhardt and everybody. This is exactly what it was. I didn't even notice this until after the race that there were only 5 cars on the lead lap. And I mean, if this didn't tell me this was a Bristol race, this was a Bristol race. Definitely think I love seeing the tires fall off. This is what we've asked for. We wanted tire wear, and we got that this weekend. And I would hope, that Martinsville and Richmond and other short tracks may follow suit with that. And if I'm NASCAR Cup teams, especially Joe Gibbs Racing, if I'm who's Justin Haley with, whoever he's with, what was that, Front Row or whatever?
Rick Ware.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. Rick Ware, and if I'm Hendrick, and matter of fact, even if I'm Legacy, I'm going to Goodyear. Look, do not change this tire, because I say any race that puts the drivers and crew chiefs on edge for an entire race, that I'm all for that. I mean, I think it was just a really good race overall, from the drop of the green flag and to the end with the play and strategy. I mean, it was literally a perfect Bristol race, and probably one of the best short track races in the next gen era that we have seen so far.
I'd have to agree with you, man. That was definitely one of the best short track races for the next gen car I've ever seen. And one thing I do want to point out different is that this race really showed you who the talented drivers were, because there was more skill and more strategy involved with this race than what we had seen previously. And going into this race, I thought it was going to be more of a follow the leader race, and more like the fall night race that we saw that Hamlin won. But overall, the tire fall off and everything I loved it. I also wanted to say that I think, didn't it break the record for the most lead changes ever?
54
lead changes. Yep. Biggest, I mean, by far, I think the closest one might be in the 40s or something.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we weren't even halfway through the race, and people were complaining on Twitter, complaining that, this is a disaster, I need to stop it, red flag, and all this mess. I don't think that was necessary. I think that what we saw is what we asked for, and yet people are still complaining, which is unfortunate. But personally, I thought the race was amazing, and I hope that Bristol stays like that.
Yeah.
So
I must have missed. I mean, obviously with NASCAR, you're gonna get your complainers. I must have missed a lot of that because I just started to see a lot of positivity, and my own experience with it was like so. Stage one kind of happened, and toward the end, you started to see the cars spinning out and having the tire issues, like your Kyle Bushes and your Denny Hamlin even. Um, so it kind of I was listening to the 5 radio, so I didn't hear a lot of clamoring up until about the end of stage one, and then I spent the very beginning of stage two just kind of a little confused, like, what's happening here? All these tire issues, and then I started to realize, boys, this is exactly what we've been clamoring for months now, years
Yeah.
maybe even, is like a tire that wears. I mean, nothing made me more frustrated the last several months and years to see races where putting on tires didn't do anything for the car. They were more or less pitting just to gas the car up. They take right sides, take left sides only, take 4 tires. It didn't matter because they weren't wearing. Now, albeit a little bit skewed on you know, the opposite end of the spectrum with them cording and actually coming apart. I mean, put that aside. I mean, it wasn't a disaster. They didn't have to red flag it or anything. But I just thought, man, right there at the very beginning stage, I said, I'm all in, boys. And pun intended. I'm all in with this race. And to me, it actually is the best short track next gen race by far. By far. I can think of maybe the Martinsville playoff race last year. You could even point to the night race last year at Bristol, and then the playoff race at Martinsville is the only two that could maybe be in the same zip code. But man, this thing was awesome, absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
This
Yeah. Go ahead, Thomas. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say this might be a stupid question, but was this the same tire that they ran in Martinsville in the fall race? I mean, is it?
I know it's the same tire as the Bristol night race in the fall, but that's a good question because I can't remember when they did the change. I don't know that it is, but it's definitely the one from Bristol fall race last
Okay.
year. Caleb, do you know?
I'm not completely sure on that, but was it the fact that that compound had some other factors to contribute that as well? I'm thinking.
There's a couple, man. There's the resin versus they had PJ1 on the track in the fall Bristol race
Right.
last year playoff. Now they switched to some resin, but you got to think, boys, the track temps was probably a good, I would say, probably 15 to 20 degrees cooler.
Yeah.
I would guess, and I don't know if that plus that factored in, but that track would not take any rubber at all, and that was the biggest. Like, I know NASCAR and Goodyear did not plan that, but that of all the things that happened, the Lord was looking out for us, boys, to say, hey, the N&B Pod's going to be in person at Bristol for Thomas's first Bristol race. I'm going to give them a show.
I'm with it. I think it was good to see, that there wasn't any arrow blocking or a race off pit road and you guarantee the win. I'm glad that wasn't really a race of that nature where you can run the same set of tires and pretty much go the entire race without changing tires. But definitely really, really happy to see that this race was not arrow based race because you had Denny, Chase, Bubba, though, and even Ty Gibbs, those guys running was like top 20 in the back at one point. Next thing you know, they're all back up in the top 10. So you had to drive the car, you had to race the car, and you had to know how to conserve your tires in order to be a factor in the end. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
One thing I'll say too is like it really also, we talk about the drivers, or Thomas, you alluded to the drivers that it brought to the forefront. It actually, the teams and the crew chiefs really also, I can't stress how much, Chris Gabehart and I know the team had an unfortunate penalty, which, that rarely occurs with them, but, all the pit crews and the crew chiefs definitely deserve a pat on the back too, because I mean that's the cream rose to the top. And I also got to say I gotta give a shout out to sixth place finisher John Hunter Nemechek, who I called a hack 2 times last episode. Listen, I told you he wrecked 2 cars in the first 4 or 5 weeks, or 4 weeks, and man, that 42 was up front a lot and battling there. So kudos to John Hunter, Nemechek, and the Legacy Motor Club 42 team, because they definitely did their thing.
Oh yeah, I think the only thing I would add to this Bristol race, or if they decide to use this tire wear like at a Richmond or Martinsville, I would just love to see maybe 20 to 30 more laps added on those tires, and I think
Yeah.
we'll be on to something.
Yeah, I agree, because the only thing I'll say is you want that wear, but you don't want it wearing to the point where the tires separating. And I'm okay with a little cording myself, because that definitely changes the game. With the drivers should be able to feel that and respond to it.
Right.
But like, man, some of those tires coming off, you could tell some of them drivers were on full send mode the whole run, and I mean those things were chewed slap up. So maybe there's a way to, if the hard tire that we hate is a 1 and this tire performance was a 10, we probably need to get to maybe like an 8.5, where they don't risk blowing them out that bad. But listen, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. If that's the tire that they brought to Richmond and Martinsville in a couple weeks, where we're all going to be there, so be it. Have at it.
Now I have to ask you. I don't want you to date yourself here, but when was the first Bristol race you attended?
Yes. Many moons ago, boys. Is actually the Food City 500 of 2001. Wanted to go up there. That was a couple races after Earnhardt's passing, so that was the days of fully packed stands. Everybody holding up threes on lap 3. High emotions were still high at that time, and that's when, before they joined the front and backstretch pit. So if you got a backstretch pit, you were a severe disadvantage. And what does Elliott Sadler do in that Motorcraft 21 Wood Brothers? He pits from the backstretch, wins the doggone race, and man gets his first W, which was awesome to see, man.
Now I gotta ask, so how did Sunday's race compare to your first race at Bristol with the tire wear and how the car's driven? Granted, how we've had these short track next gen cars. Well, I guess you could say some of these short track races over the past, let's say 2019 till last Sunday.
Oh yeah. So I would say, trying to be objective about the whole thing, I'll just tell you, man, like yesterday was it for me. Like that was the best Bristol race I've ever been to. Followed closely by 2001, and honestly, the playoff race last year, Caleb, that was awesome. They did a little bit different tire compound there too, and we got to see Denny and Kyle and some other boys running and gunning up there. Not as much passing and not as much drama, but I don't think anything compares to this, man. And maybe I'm just so starved for that kind of short track racing, where it puts the skill and the strategies back in these drivers and pit crews' hands. I'm here for it, man. It didn't. That's the best Bristol race I've ever been to, man. And I've been to COTs, I've been to Gen 4s, I've been to Gen 6. It just don't compare, man. I hope they figure to leave this alone for a little while, but we'll see.
Thomas,
speaking of that, I guess. No, I was just saying, are we ready to put it on the meter, or we still got a lot to say about this one?
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to ask, what are we feeling this from 1 to 10? How are we feeling about the Bristol throwback Food City 500?
I'll let you go first, Caleb.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I'm giving it an 8. I'm giving it an 8.
I was gonna say 8.5, but I'll go ahead and give it a 9.
Boy, I must be just smoking. So I'm giving it a 10. I mean, and in a different way that I gave the Atlanta a 10 is it just, that was what I just can't tell you. Like the second half of that race, I was just sitting there mesmerized, thinking how finally we got a tire that wore and got a race that I've been wanting to see for years. So it's a 10 for me, man, and it could revolutionize what these short track races are for the next gen. So I hope they don't. I hope NASCAR flew up to Goodyear headquarters today and sat down with Goodyear and calmed everybody down because
Yeah.
there's nothing there. There's no emergency. There's no crisis. That was just like the best way to stumble into something, in my opinion. So I'm giving it a
Yeah.
10.
Yeah, Goodyear is tasked with a very hard task. I mean, they're told from NASCAR, we want you to make us a tire that not only is durable and will withstand racing, but we also want that same tire to wear down and to give out over the course of the race. So being able to balance those two complete opposite sides of the spectrum into one tire is difficult. And so it's a hard task to create a tire that suits everybody and that, makes good racing.
I think they had it at Bristol. Like, I mean, it was perfect. And like you said, just add maybe 20, 30 more laps to it. You got something good. But I know you were just talking about Goodyear and headquarters. They did an interview with, I don't know if he's some high up with NASCAR and Goodyear, but he said the tire wear was too, well, I guess we can dive this into our trackside chatter as well here. So yesterday they put out the interview and whatnot, and he said that the tire wear he said it was too drastic, and says it's because the rubber is not laying down, and they need to understand why, and said the only variable is resin instead of PJ1. Tire wear is good, but the dude was saying that it was too much and it was too drastic. So my question is it too drastic, and should other short tracks like Martinsville, Bristol, Richmond, well, Bristol is already doing it, but should Richmond, Martinsville and some other short tracks follow suit and do what happened Sunday?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's a resounding yes. It's like no question. I want to go up there and shake that dude and you knew it was going to happen. You knew somebody in NASCAR Goodyear. Actually, I got to take NASCAR out of it. Everybody I've heard and listened to NASCAR said, "Hey, that was it right there."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to put NASCAR aside, not even say anything about that. I think Goodyear, we could all probably predict somebody in Goodyear was wringing their hands Monday morning. Oh, what has happened? What do we do? Can't explain nothing about it. Brought the same tires they did in the fall, not knowing what's going on. Listen, there's no crisis here, Goodyear. Whatever you brought, bring it again and again and again. And one thing I do get, so like as I said earlier, you don't want tires just failing and falling apart in 5 different pieces, and and my boy Kyle Larson, even what he said, he gets out the car on Sunday, he's like, "Hey, I hope we don't do that again." And after running up front most of the day, after getting a late pit road penalty and charging your way back to a 5th place finish, and knowing how he runs on dirt, I was shocked about that comment a little bit. But what I think he was trying to say was just, I don't think it was the result of what happened, but the unpredictability of tires just, failing out after 40 laps. I don't think he liked that part of it. So to your point, Caleb, if they can get to go maybe 50, 60 laps and then really break down without unraveling, so to speak, I think that's all we need to do to maybe look at. But I would, if it meant changing anything and there being another variable and an unknown, I say don't even change it. All the boys know exactly what they're getting into. And if we took it to Richmond, they know they got about 40 laps, or they can manage their equipment like Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex and all these others and get a result and get strategy into play. So, gosh, please, Goodyear, do not overreact to this, and definitely bring that same doggone tire. When we go to Richmond, I want to see that same tire, man. I'm telling you,
agree.
we ought to start a petition online or something, because if they take the Richmond tire that was, the last 3 or 4 races or whatever, what we're gonna get. We're gonna get
a Truex domination race. That's exactly what we're gonna get.
Yeah, and we're going to get single file, not being able to pass.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be everybody can just go 110 miles, not having to worry about anything except for gas. I don't want to see that race.
Yeah, you guys pretty much covered everything. I mean, it's also a yes for me. I want to see the racing I saw at Bristol. I want to see it at Martinsville. I want to see it at Richmond and Phoenix, even short tracks. I mean, we need better racing. And you can take a look back at some of the past short track races we have, and like you said, single file, just boring races, is to say there's another way to put it. And when they're just worried about gas and they just can't do anything. And I think that if we can get a better tire and a better racing, it may increase attendance and other stuff along the way. But I mean, we need better short track racing, and I think there should be no panic at all about this tire, and they should bring it to see how it does at Richmond, see how it does at Martinsville. They need to keep this trend going.
So here's a question I got to pose to you guys. So we saw how this tire races at Bristol. If it goes to different short tracks, we know how it's going to race there. So I guess my question is, do we still need the horsepower, more horsepower, if we have this tire at short tracks?
I'm going to say at least because I'm listening to other drivers talk and other people that know more than me about it, but I don't see why not going back up to at least 750, just, as a general rule. And then, maybe even higher. I think, I don't know if that eliminates shifting, but I'd like to try and work on that in the short track package somehow, because I just don't think it's even natural to shift and downshift and upshift on a half-mile track with that much of a car underneath you. But, adding that fifth gear, I know messes some things up. I definitely say yes, Caleb, and keep chipping away at it. But definitely the tire. We learned yesterday that the tire was the most important variable in this whole thing. I mean, we clamored for horsepower on this show, and we clamored for a bunch of things. But I mean, I think we found yesterday that the simplest answer, lied with Goodyear rubber, tire and rubber. I mean, it's just that compound and figuring out the right compound that wears to allow drivers a measure of strategy and control is the answer. Then you start working on these other little things if you want to. But I say, if that made it good, let's try this and see if this does. But I think they need to schedule more tests. I mean, it's obviously the short track package has been a problem for years since the next gen, or 2 years since the next gen has been. Keep chipping away at things until you find the magic combination. Thomas, what you got?
If they can get this tire stuff figured out and get it down pat exactly the way it needs to be, then we can start looking at horsepower. But I still do think that a slight increase in horsepower is needed. Maybe we don't need to go all the way up to 100% or the highest it's ever been, but we need to increase a little bit from where it is now. And I think that's something might not need to be focused on right at this very moment, but a little bit down the road, once we get the tire situation figured out and the compounds, and once we get all that settled and get that figured out exactly the way we need it on each track, then the increase in horsepower can be talked about.
Yeah. And like Caleb, before I let you respond, let me say something before I forget. But, I'll be honest with you. Like, I think we messed up in Fontana. I think we messed up tearing that down because of the racing that was going on there last few years. But after yesterday, I think me and a lot of other NASCAR fans would probably, like, I'm starting to get excited about another short track coming onto the circuit if we can start to race like this. So, like, you start racing like this throughout all the short tracks this season, and all of a sudden, people cannot wait to see what Fontana and the new revised short track, going to bring. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm like you. If this short track racing now in this next gen car is going in this big step in the right direction, then yeah, I'm all for having another short track on the schedule, because that's what our sport was built on. That's what fans want to see. And if we're going to produce great racing and whatnot, then I'm all for the new Fontana, just to see how it's going to race on this. What is it? New Hampshire on steroids. So I'm all for it.
Thomas, you got anything on that?
Not really. He pretty much covered everything that I'd want to say. I mean, I think that we could see some very good racing out there. I mean, I'm still not on board with tearing down the big auto club, tearing down everything. I'm still not on board with that. I still don't think that's a good idea. But I guess we'll see what a new short track will do. But I don't know.
Yeah. There was some talk earlier this week or this past week about if they could nail that track and get the fan interest up, could that possibly become a championship race on a short track? What are you thinking there? Because like I have a hard time thinking that NASCAR would sign off on naming our champion after like it coming down to a one-off short track race. But I don't know, man. If they nailed the package right and the racing was good enough, I mean, it's pretty exciting to think about. I mean, definitely could come down to some bump and runs for a championship.
Yeah.
I don't know. Caleb, you got like a little bit of a frown on your face on that deal. What you got?
As a traditionalist of the sport, I mean, personally, I would kind of, if they do hold the championship at a short track, I mean, I would love to see it back on the East Coast. I would prefer to see it at a Martinsville or even a Bristol. I would rather see it there and at a track that is back on the East Coast, and someone who would still much rather see it at Homestead and at a mile and a half. I mean, but if we
Yep.
were to take it to a short track, I gotta bring it back east, and I'm taking it to Bristol, and I'm taking it to Martinsville.
Yeah. And can I say something real honest? Like, I'm with you. However, let's be real. NASCAR looks at us, the regional Southeast born and bred fan, and I feel like they kind of take us for granted. They know we ain't going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Um, and our market in these places like Martinsville and Bristol, it's not big enough for them, unfortunately. So they're wanting to put these championship races in your Miami area, your
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix, your Los Angeles. Um, the best you might get under that premise would be if Nashville Fairgrounds took a date, an SMI date from somewhere, and that's another problem because they're always going to be on a NASCAR owned track, these championship races. So I would say Nashville Fairgrounds could be one, maybe one day. That'd be pretty awesome. But um, yeah, I just think they probably won't ever do that. I mean, the best we might could get from the Southeast perspective would be going back to Atlanta or going back to like doing a Charlotte finale.
Yeah.
But here again, I'm talking about Bruton and I'm sorry, Marcus Smith owned entities, and I just don't see him ever doing it, unfortunately. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I guess you sound like a little bit like you would, being a traditionalist wise, a mile and a half track would be where you'd like to see, especially with the
Yeah.
next big car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not because I stay here now, but I mean, I would definitely love to see it in Charlotte. Just if we're gonna move it, I mean, let's move it to one of these tracks that a mile and a half can put on, like you say, next gen car and putting on some of the best mile and a half races we've seen in a long time. So I would definitely love to see it in Charlotte. No doubt it will sell out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're gonna have to start. They're gonna start putting the seats back on the backstretch and opening them up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody clamors. Oh, go ahead, Thomas. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that I'm not a huge fan of having the championship race at Phoenix. I don't like Phoenix. Never have, and probably never will. I did like Homestead. I do like Homestead, but as far as having the championship race at a short track, I think a Bristol could work. But where my mind goes to, and I know we've mentioned this several times on the podcast before, but I want to see a fall race at the Rock. I'm thinking that we could have the compound in the tire that we saw at Bristol, put that at Rockingham, and have a fall race, a playoff race there, and maybe have the championship race there.
Hmm, not a bad idea.
That's a very interesting thought I've thought of. I don't know, but
I love y'all's ideas. I just think like I'm trying to live in the real world. Like these are
yeah,
like fantasy things,
yeah,
right? I love them all, by the way. I think Martinsville finale or a Rockingham finale will be amazing. I just never, I'm telling you, boy, NASCAR ain't never going to go for that in this current era of big market TV and contracts. I will tell you this though, I don't particularly care for watching the Phoenix racing, but there is an experience to going to Phoenix to like it's just about that area. It's like the atmosphere at the track, and it's actually while you're there watching, it's pretty awesome. And they do sell out, which I think a sellout. They don't have a lot of seats there. They got like camping, I think, and stuff. But you know, I don't know. It's something to think about because I think there's been some chatter here recently about this could be the last Phoenix finale before they move it. So I don't want to I don't necessarily get into that just yet until we have a little more concrete talk, but it's something to look forward to. But I will just recap by saying Phoenix, if you go, I think you would feel differently because it definitely there's something about the experience of it at Phoenix while you're there. Now on TV, it doesn't translate as good, to be honest. All right, well, let's move on from trackside chatter and let's hit up Speedway Spectacle. As y'all know, listeners, this is the portion where we dive into the next race preview, and we're going to talk about Circuit of the Americas coming up this Sunday, boys. And let's talk a little bit about COTA, man. I looked on, did some research on this. There's 39 entries in the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix coming up this Sunday, and I expected to click on this to see. Once I saw 39, I was like, well, you usually get some ringers, some road course ringers in this thing. People you ain't never heard of coming out of different ranks from IMSA to other racing disciplines, and sometimes even some IndyCar, Formula One, experience will come into the fold there. But I looked at 39 entries because I wanted to see who I thought the ringers were. And all the regulars are entered, but I saw Shane Van Gisbergen is going to attempt to race for Colleague in the number 16, while AJ Allmendinger is going to be in the number 13 Colleague entry. And Kamui Kobayashi is going to drive for 2311 in the number 50 Toyota this weekend. He ran COTA, I think, last year with the 67. Yeah. And lastly, the only other one I could find was Timmy Hill is running or attempting to qualify in the number 66 Power Source owned entry. First thing I noticed is and this just bothers me. Why in the heck are we moving AJ Allmendinger to the number 13 when he's actually won in the 16? I don't know. I have to do a little more research on that, but probably something in SVG's contract or something. But he's got to be in a one running for points or something. I don't know. But that kind of irked me, man. It's kind of disrespectful to AJ after getting 2 wins in that car. And that's just my own personal feeling. But anyway, this is the 4th year in a row we're at Circuit of the Americas, dating back to 2021. The 2021 race was a monsoon debacle, if you will. I don't know if y'all remember that. I know Caleb remembers that because
of course.
because Chase Elliott won the rain shortened event. Yeah, Chase Elliott won in the Lumar car at the rain shortened event, and it actually was Chevy's 800th win.
That's right.
And it was actually Hendrick Motorsports' 268th win, which tied them for Petty Motorsports for most wins by a team owner. Mm-hmm. We all remember who got 269, but that's a conversation for another day. But no, Chase did his thing under some crazy circumstances. There was basically cars wrecking each other, because they couldn't see because it was raining so hard. And then let's fast forward to 2022. Ross Chastain gets Trackhouse their first win. Everybody remembers that first watermelon smash. And then 2023, Tyler Reddick gets his first win in the 2311 sponsored and owned machine. So SMI rents out, I guess, their second Texas date and basically pays Circuit of the Americas to run this race. And I wanted to ask y'all, are y'all good with this considering how bad of a reputation Texas Motor Speedway has had in recent history? What are your thoughts on that? Are y'all okay with this continuing to happen where we take one of the Texas dates, I guess, and maybe I've got that wrong, but anyway, it's just what my own thoughts are on it. To run this race at COTA, are y'all good with that?
I mean, Chase is good at road courses, so I guess I like it, but not really. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not really a fan of it. Not really a fan of this 5-mile road course. It seems like that I think it's 87 laps Sunday or something like that. But I think it's just way way too long of a road course, in my opinion. But I'm just, like I say, I watch because I'm gonna watch regardless. But I'm just not really too fond of it. I don't know. Thomas, what
Yeah,
you got?
I really honestly don't care either way. I'm not a fan of Texas. And I'm not a fan of COTA.
Yeah,
Don't
same.
really care for either one of them, so it really doesn't make that much of a difference to me. Now, if they were to take one of them away and add something that I liked, sure, but I
See,
really don't really care,
See,
honestly.
now this is where I would come in, and if I'm somewhere in the minority here or majority, it could go either way, I guess. I'm looking at Coda, and I'm like, all right, let's take that off. And I'm going with Thomas here, like you said earlier. I'm like, let's put Rockingham on this stretch right here. Let's put Rockingham in place of the Coda date. That's what I'm doing come 2025 or no later than 2026.
Okay. And I'm getting old boys and they're changing every year. I have to look at the schedule. So if we took COTA away, we would have Sonoma, Watkins Glen. We've taken away the Indy Road Course, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Roval.
we've got the Roval. Okay, so we have
Mm-hmm.
three. We'd still have three road courses.
I think that's a perfect amount. I think that is a perfect amount of road courses that we need.
I agree. Yeah.
I do
Okay,
not think we need 6 road courses on the schedule. That we should have never had 6 on the schedule.
okay, and um, I'm okay with 3 to 4. 4 is an absolute max. But if you're telling me right now that you're going to take away COTA to give me Rockingham, I want that all day. I'm 100% in agreement with you. People forget how good the Rockingham races can be. So I say we show the new generation boys. But anyway, okay, so I'm good with that. Yeah, 3 or 4 is a sweet spot for sure. That year we had like 5 or 6. That was way too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a 100% agreement there. And just to piggyback off the original question, I thought the Texas playoff race was pretty good last year, and in the next gen car. So, would you, if it wasn't Rockingham, it's just like, hey, we're just going to go to Texas twice. Would you rather just keep COTA or not?
I'd say let's just do Texas twice. I mean, I'd rather see a mile and a half race at Texas than watch, you know, that 10-mile road course at COTA, to be completely honest
Yeah.
with you.
I
Okay.
agree with you. Yeah.
Okay. Um, I'll be in the minority just to say if it was going to be that, I'd probably just try to stay at COTA. And I got probably a weird reason, but part of going to COTA for me is to stick it to F1 a little bit, NASCAR to F1. Because as crazy as it's going to be Sunday when they dive into turn one and do that hairpin turn, and like somebody on the inside 4 or 5 or 6 deep is just going to body slam the heck out of the field. We're going to see that a lot, but
So
I'd
you're
rather
saying
see that.
so you're saying McDowell's gonna do that. Got it.
Somebody, yeah, there's going to be a couple. But I say I think I'd still rather see that because I know in my heart that the NASCAR race at COTA is going to be better than the Formula One race at COTA, right? So like I don't know, that's just me being spiteful with Formula One, I guess. But yeah, I would go ahead and keep it as the 4th one. But now again, you tell me we're going to take it off to do another short track somewhere or just anything, Nashville Fairgrounds, Rockingham. I'm all in with that.
Yeah.
So okay, all right. Well, let's see. I guess we won't be real excited to watch Sunday. I guess is that what?
No.
Just
Nope.
another field filler in the schedule, right, Thomas? Is that what we're saying?
Exactly what I'm saying. Yep.
All right, all right. Well, hey, listen, I'm not mad at you. Let's go ahead with our picks, boys. Who do y'all have for the poll? And I'll start with Thomas on this one. Who you got winning the poll?
I got Tyler Reddick winning the poll.
Ooh, you
Strong
sly
pick.
dog. You sly dog.
Strong pick. I can't argue it. I actually thought about it, but I picked somebody else. So we got Tyler Reddick on with Thomas. Okay, for the poll. Caleb, what you got?
Ironically, I have the same pick as Thomas. I have Tyler Reddick as the poll as the poll winner. I do, yes.
I can't say I'm mad at that. Yeah, I mean, he's the defending champion. He's going to show up and be fast in a Toyota. I'm good with it. I'm actually going with a different Toyota for the pole. I'm going to say Mr. Christopher Bell is going to win the pole
Oh,
out
that's
of
a solid pick.
the JGR camp.
That's
Yeah,
a solid
he's
pick. Yeah.
going to click a fast lap out there.
I almost had Reddick as my race winner, but I
Yeah,
don't
me
think he'll
too.
go. I didn't think he can go back to back though.
Yeah, it's always hard to do, man. I'm telling you, no matter where you're at. So for the race winning picks, let's go with Thomas once again. Who you got?
I'm sticking with Toyota for the race win. I'm going Martin Truex Jr. to win the race.
I tell you,
You're just wishing to see Truex win, don't you?
I mean, no, I'm just going with what I think is going to happen. I mean, I already
yeah,
know who you're going to pick for the winner. I can already know.
Oh, you do.
I know.
Well, on that note, let's kick it to Caleb. Who you got for the race winner, Caleb?
Well, I mean, my driver that I am picking, I mean, he does drive a Chevy. I will say that. So I will say my winner. And I gotta add, I did pick last week's winner, Mr. All-In Denny Hamlin at Bristol. I did pick him last week, but this weekend I gotta go with the driver of the number 99 Trackhouse Chevrolet, Daniel Suarez.
Wow.
Yes.
First of all, let me just rewind because boys, I'm old. I don't keep up with the picks like past the last week. Have y'all predicted a race winner, both of you now?
Yeah.
And I'm the lone one that hasn't picked one.
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
Thomas got what? Vegas.
Larson.
Yeah, he had Larson for Vegas, and I had Denny this weekend. So
That's
you're
what
the
I
lone
thought,
wolf
man.
out here.
That's what I thought. I'm getting shown up by the young guns, which tends to happen sometimes. Ask Kyle Busch in truck races right now. So, all right. Well, listen, that's a shocker. First of all,
Yeah.
I'm with Thomas. I almost would ink in what I thought you were going to say.
I thought it was going to be the 99 minus a 9, but
Now I'm not saying he can't go out there and win it, but I've looked at some past COTA stuff. He's ran top 5 there. He has nearly gotten a win there. He has qualified real good there, and we've didn't he win COTA? One.
Yeah, bro, he won the rain short one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I got to go with the 99. I'm going with the 99.
Oh, wait. I thought you were talking about Chase. My bad.
No.
That's what I was.
No. I'm going with Suarez. What did
No,
Yeah.
Suarez won Sonoma.
Sonoma? Yeah, that's right. But
Yeah.
I'm
He had
thinking
one
of
road course.
I'm thinking of or was it Chastain? I'm getting mixed up. I'm thinking of the battle with Bowman and Allmendinger.
That was
No,
Chastain.
that was Chastain. I knew it was a Trackhouse driver, but anyways, yeah. I'm going with the 99 of Daniel Suarez and parking at 99 in Victory Lane at COTA. And I got Chase as my on the bubble suicide watch list.
Okay.
Yeah, Caleb. I wanted to add about Trackhouse real quick. Last night on the way home, I got behind the Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain's hauler out there headed to that road before you veer off to go to Charlotte.
That's awesome.
Oh man, you know what I just thought of, boys?
Oh, they take the long way then.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do for real. Well, I just thought of something, and I hate to admit this, but my my gas pump premonitions are over because let me tell the listeners. Let me refresh the listeners' memory on Daytona. I had pumped $24 worth of gas down in Daytona on Saturday in the 24-1. There were a lot of other premonitions that happened that weekend to kind of, if you believe in signs, I had them all. But then on the way up to Bristol yesterday, I did stop to top off my fuel tank, and I pumped to the number $23 worth of gas. So I told the boys, I said, hey, we might as well not even worry about this. Bubba Wallace is going to win. And it didn't happen. So that's over with. So I don't have to worry about pumping gas anymore. But Caleb, I am going to I have a strong feeling that the only reason why you didn't pick Chase Elliott was because you don't want to jinx him because you really in your heart feel like he's going to win on Sunday. But I'm gonna pick you up, buddy, because I know it don't need to be you, but I have Chase Elliott as my winner of the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix. Now I'm doing it based on the fact that he is running better than people are paying attention to right now. I mean, yesterday's race, I know y'all were frustrated a little bit at times. I really think he was just kind of hanging back, and then
Oh yeah.
when it was time to go, maybe he didn't have the car he had to start the race, but he still got a finish out of it. And he's been doing that a lot this year. I don't see anything wrong with the way he's running.
No. But no, you continue on. You continue on.
Yeah, no, I just I'll throw it to you after this, but I just think it's either going to be COTA or Martinsville where he gets his first win after to end this drought and his first win of the season. So I'm going Chase Elliott as my winner for Sunday, man. And what you got?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I don't think Chase is gonna get it done now. You say this every time, and then my driver ends up something ends up happening. I'm not saying you put some bad mojo on my guy because maybe it's that Hendrick Larson voodoo you got from Watkins Glen and Auto Club and whatnot. But I appreciate the optimism. I am too because it's a road course. A little bit more optimism than past weekends, but no, to Lou, what you were saying, I definitely thought yesterday it was a big step in the right direction for the 9 team. He listened to his radio. He made a lot of decisions based on his own and did not go off the crew chief very much and like backing off and saving tires and then having that run where he was up in the top 5 and pretty much driving like he was playing NASCAR Heat 5 on rookie mode. So he moved up 3 spots. He's up to 6 now in the points and got a top 10 and he's 42 to the good in the cutoff for the playoffs. So big momentum for the 9 team. Definitely could see a win tomorrow and definitely could see a top 5. But it'll be nice to break that winless streak and add another car to that case right under that 2022 Talladega race. So
Yes,
looking forward to seeing it though.
Yeah. No, and if I'm jinxing Chase, then I certainly don't mean to. And then if he don't win, I won't pick him again on that deal. But I just have a feeling, man. I think I told you about it yesterday, but I just feel like it's gonna be COTA or Martinsville. But it's coming, man. The way he's running.
I'm heavy Martinsville, man. I think that's gonna be his track. I really do.
Yeah.
If it's no other race coming up, it's that we're gonna be at. I definitely think it's Martinsville.
Okay. Okay. Any dark horse picks or like second, like, hey, watch out. This guy's gonna be a force to reckon with.
I'm going with a bold prediction simply because of the way they ran. I think the last 3 races. I'm going with 2. I'm going with Austin Cindric.
Wow.
That is my bold pick for the weekend.
Yeah, very bold.
Yes. Yes. It would be nice to see him actually perform at these road courses where he dominated in Xfinity.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that'd be a cool one to see. That's actually a good one to dark horse or put a little bit of money on if you was wanting to cash in big if he won. I don't really have one that's a dark horse per se. I don't know. I'm so upset about Allmendinger in the 13. That's just gonna throw me off too, because every time I see the 16, let's just say SVG starts running good, I'm gonna think it's AJ until I start to remember, oh man, that's Shane Van Gisbergen. But yeah. Anyway, Thomas, do you have any dark horses?
I'm gonna go with a Hendrick, either Larson or Bowman.
Oh, Bowman.
I feel like one of them is gonna run top 3, not win,
Yeah.
but run top 3 for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I get on board with Bowman. I mean, yeah, obviously, Caleb mentioned he was running up there in 2022 before he got taken out by was it Allmendinger's kind of trying to bump back Ross or something and got into him.
Yeah, I think it was Allmendinger, Bowman, and Chastain. So yeah, he almost got that win there. So
Oh no, it was Chastain getting back Allmendinger and then bumped him into Bowman, I
in the
think it was,
Bowman, yep,
and then Ross went on to win.
yeah.
Um, okay, yeah, that I can see Bowman. I'll go with that one.
Yeah, the funny thing about COTA is that you could be running top three and be 6 miles back and 4 minutes back. So, you know, God.
6 miles
Yeah,
back.
you got me shook, Caleb. I'm on now. If Chase don't run good and win, I'm gonna be. I might not pick him again just because you got me thinking I might be a jinx, man.
If I was a jinx, I'd be picking Larson every week.
Yeah. Well, it's the opposite for you. You go ahead and pick him again, buddy. I like when you pick him. So,
I tell you,
anyway,
I was pulling for Larson just for a little bit yesterday. Whenever Ty Gibbs was in the lead, I was I was wanting some car to go up there and challenge him. I was like, well, maybe it can be Larson because it's not going to be Chase. So I was maybe hoping somebody would go up there and pass Gibbs. So I was
man,
not about to sit there and watch that.
I was going to tell you, I was very worried that, I mean, he swept stage 1 and 2. I just thought it was going to be his day 2 there for a moment, and then,
Blown
um,
tire.
yeah, he didn't quite know how to manage that tire or got too aggressive in the end where he was laying back in the first couple stages. I don't know what it was, but it definitely got caught up with him. And a lot of the younger drivers, uh, I think there was Josh Berry was running up there until he wasn't, and man, I saw Kaz Gralla up there. I asked Thomas if he was going to get a Kaz Gralla race win if that happened, and
That's $90 I'm going to save. That's for sure. Just throwing away
yeah,
money.
yeah, I'd probably
But,
not buy that one either.
I have to say it was really good seeing that 4 car run up front for a little bit.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Sure,
It was
Harvick
giving
got a little
me
emotional in the booth.
it was giving me flashbacks of seeing Harvick run up front. Man, it was
Yeah.
cool to see. But that Sunny D car would have been a cool race win. But no.
yeah. I tell you, being from Hendersonville, Tennessee, and when he took the lead, you kind of tell there was some love from the Bristol crowd for him for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
And yeah, I thought it was good for him to run like that, man. So yeah. All right, well, we'll see what COTA has in store, boys.
All right. So for tonight's fuel for thought, I want to go back and talk about Bristol and the attendance. And I also wanted to discuss NASCAR ticket prices because if anybody's ever bought tickets to NASCAR races, they know Bristol is probably one of the highest ones you're going to see. So let's just start off with the thoughts on the attendance for Bristol. Caleb, what do you think?
Yeah. I really don't know. Maybe it's the spring effect, but for me, that still was a good amount for Bristol, considering how the track was and the attendance was from, let's say, 2017 up to about 2019, excluding 2020, because it was a point in 2019 where Bristol even sold just the front and the back stretch seats, and they didn't sell any of the turns, so it'll look somewhat full, and that still didn't work. But I will say, I definitely think the night race sells more. And Thomas, I know I told you when we got there that it looked like it was less people than it was there than last September. But regarding the ticket prices, I knew that was a real big. I mean, not well. It kind of sparked a debate on Twitter last night because someone sent out a tweet, a good mutual friend of mine, and then Thomas, this other girl that does this podcast, Taylor Kitchen of Above the Yellow Line. She took a picture of turns 3 and 4 where we were in the backstretch and turn 1 at the track, and a lot of people were not very pleased with it. And this other girl sent out a tweet and was like, hey, she posted a screenshot of the ticket prices, and the lowest ticket price was $120 for Bristol. And Gene, you asked us about the truck race. The lowest ticket price for the truck race was $85. When a standard truck race ticket is normally what, $20. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a. I don't think it's a location thing, because if I feel like if you're within a 3.5 hour radius of Bristol, or if you're like Thomas, you're 4.5 hours away. You're gonna come. I mean, you're gonna either make it a weekend trip and get a hotel in, I guess, Johnson City, Kingsport, or Abington. But if you're coming up for today, like you said earlier, Gina, day trip, you're gonna make that drive for the race. But regarding the ticket prices, I'm not really sure what needs to happen. I don't know if it was because it was back on concrete. They were just trying to make the money back for the concrete that they had to use this year. But I don't. I just don't see the spike. I mean, there's some deals, but it's like, if you don't catch those deals in X amount of time, you're not gonna get that deal.
I have to ask you, Caleb, how much, if you don't mind sharing, how much were the tickets for the fall race?
Oh,
Oh,
Gene, yeah. How much was that?
yeah, I got those, and I remember because we sat in the cheapest possible area, um, which is high up in turns 1 and 2, as high as you can go. Um, and listeners, don't ever get that cheap ticket, because if you want to be in a section of about 30 sections with one bathroom,
Yeah,
um,
and no concessions.
and no concessions, do that. But we paid about 100 a ticket, and the next price tier was 150. But when we go back in the fall, I'll gladly pay $150 or more, because I ain't sitting up there. Number one, I don't know what it does off of the aluminum, but the sound reverberates so loud up the higher you go. We were down pretty low yesterday, and it wasn't as loud as it was in the fall to me, Caleb. I don't know if you want to comment on that, but it's super loud up there. I don't know if the acoustics just push the sound up to the top, but about $100 a ticket to get to the fall
All right.
race, but sitting in, I mean, we were up in the clouds, brother.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, the sound, like you say, like when I went stood up on the fence a little bit, I was obviously that was loud, but I got to say it was definitely kind of, it was. Let me not say quieter, but it wasn't as loud down there was as it was up top. But to answer your question, Thomas, I don't really know what I don't. Maybe it's just because of the name they think it's going to sell, but man, I know it's been a big problem with that for the spring race, so I don't know what NASCAR can maybe do, and maybe this race help that with this tire, and the short track race help this spring Bristol race as a whole, so people can come to it.
Man, I didn't know how expensive they were like that. To be honest, and now that I know, I think I mean it was a little more than half full, if you ask me. But I saw online where people were saying it was about half full. Um, I mean, if you're going to make that amount of money, just do BOGO offers. Buy one get one, and fill the doggone place up, because I mean, as good as that race was yesterday, it would have been electric to have a full crowd out there.
For sure.
Um, and you're going to make twice the money on concessions. You're going to make twice the money on parking, or maybe not twice the money, but you're going to make a lot more money on parking. Definitely on concessions, and the atmosphere will be electric. I don't know. I miss those days. The first, yeah, obviously, harkening back to 2001, there was not a seat to be had in Thunder Valley for that race. And that was the spring race, by the way.
I
And
remember I remember hearing stories where it'll be sold out for like years. You've got to be on wait lists and everything, man.
yeah, matter of fact, back in those days, I had the reason why I went to the Food City 500, the spring race, because you could not get a night race ticket. Forget about
Hmm.
that. You had to definitely be on a wait list or be already grandfathered in on the ticket plans. But yeah, I mean, atmosphere wise, I thought it was okay, even
Oh
with
yeah.
the crowd we had. And definitely, to Caleb's point, better than years past. I don't know what the attendance was for the last dirt race, but I think by year 3, I mean, NASCAR fans were pretty over that experiment. And my neighbor ended up going to that, and they camped out that weekend. A bunch of my neighbors actually went. It was Easter weekend, so I couldn't go. But it was. They said it was. It had some weather that weekend too, I believe, but he said felt like it was empty. So
Now, I gotta ask. So, do you guys think for Richmond, with it being on Easter Sunday, will we see that same effect as Bristol Dirt last year?
yes, we talking about Richmond this year.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so because the racing product. I don't think the racing product is, it's got a reputation now being quote unquote boring. Now, bringing that same tires last night is going to change the game, but I think it could potentially be not as well attended.
Yeah, I wanted to say like with Bristol, there's like so many more seats at Bristol than there is say at Martinsville or Richmond. So
Right.
everybody's more spread out at Bristol because whenever you're buying tickets, you're not going to buy tickets right directly next to somebody you don't know. So everybody's more spread out. If you were to take that same amount of people that was at Bristol yesterday and put them into Martinsville or put them into Richmond, it's going to look a lot more full and
Yeah.
sold out
I
compared
agree.
to other tracks. But I've never been to a Bristol race, so I really have no like comparison to like say, well, this compared to this race's attendance because I've never been to one before. But to me, it seemed around half, but I really don't know.
Thomas, I think that's a great point. If you take the amount of people that attended Bristol yesterday and you plop them into Phoenix Raceway, there will be people that probably wouldn't be able to get a ticket because you can sell out Phoenix at like, was it 40 or 50,000
Yeah.
or something like that. So, yeah, I think you got to keep in mind the venue seats a ton of people. So I don't know the figures, but yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I'm disappointed to hear about the ticket price, especially the truck race being $85.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
The truck race should be almost free. I mean, it should be borderline free. I'm talking like 20-25 bucks max.
Well, that's like a normal truck race ticket price, though. That's literally what a normal truck race ticket price is. 30, I think 35 max. Even at Charlotte, it's like 35, 40. But I'm
Yeah.
assuming just because it's back, Bristol's back on concrete this weekend, and simply because the Bristol, the name, that's why this ticket was but even Cup was way overpriced than what it needed to be.
Yeah, I can't justify spending $80 on a truck ticket when I'm already paying for the cup ticket, hotel,
Yeah.
traveling up here. That's a decent amount of money to spend. So I can't justify spending really any money on a truck or an Xfinity ticket. Now, if Dale Jr. was running an Xfinity, I could make an exception, but for just any old race, I can't do it.
And that's a good point because the girl in the tweet, she made that same exact point. She was like, you got to take in consideration most everybody's situation is going to be different when doing that. And she was saying, once you go through hotel and gas and fee and all that, because you got people coming from all over, 200 for hotels and whatnot, or if not more, and then another 200 on top of tickets. She's like, that's $400 on top of food, gas. And she was like,
Yeah,
it's like
going out to eat on
$500,
there. Yeah,
$600 in total. And then, she was like, people were bringing up, oh, well, you got to catch these deals and whatnot. She was like, well, not everyone has their schedules set in stone like most people, or like trying to plan, or some people may have last minute decision to go, kind of like how we do sometimes. So,
Yeah.
but the luxury of us, we're within like 3 hour radius of like 5 tracks, so it works out.
yeah. You guys have anything else to add for the fuel for thought?
I'm all good.
Nah, you
All
got
right.
it.
So for this week, I'm doing a diecast review. And recently, I've been on a very much interested in custom diecasts. And I was going on eBay, just looking through eBay one day, and I found a really good deal for a number 12, 2003 Ryan Newman Texas win.
Oh, that's cool,
That's
man.
sweet.
Yeah, it's got a decent amount of dirt buildup and some confetti. But
It's a
I'm
nice
supposed
one.
to, yeah,
The old Dodge Intrepid.
Now I
yeah.
gotta ask, how much did you pay for that?
$30 plus shipping.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
No.
So it's kind of an obscure win or whatever, but it's I thought it looked cool, so I went ahead and just got it because it's not something that many people are going to have. And I've actually bought some supplies. I'm going to start attempting to make my own custom diecast. So we're going to see how that goes. But I've been really into the idea of custom stuff recently.
Yeah. Let us know how the your custom iterations go, and pretty soon, Thomas, you're going to be putting monster stickers on that number 45 Kurt Busch Kansas race
I don't
win.
know. I don't know.
To, man. You got to. I got to get some. I don't care. I got to. I got to get some.
Yeah. Ty Gibbs was running that so good yesterday that I thought, man, if he wins, I guess I'm gonna have to get a race win, Ty Gibbs, because it was Sirius XM, but he did have those little
I
monster
saw him.
logos on the back quarters. So Caleb and I would be ordering up that diecast and then putting the monster logos on that one too.
I would have to see how it would look on your guys' diecast before I do it on mine, because I don't know. Something about putting a sticker on a $115 Elite just doesn't sit well with me.
It'll increase the value, that's for sure.
I don't know.
Well, again, it's a water slide decal, so you can scratch it off if you don't like it, man. We're not gonna get him to do it, Caleb. I can tell right now he's not gonna do it.
I don't know. I don't think so. I'll have to see it in hand once you guys do it and see how it looks before I decide to do it.
That ain't no problem.
Because even if you don't like it, you got to scratch it off. But what if you scratch off the paint, man? What if you mess it up?
You're thinking too much in it.
Nah.
Yeah.
Thinking way too much in it.
I can't overthink it when I'm spending $120 on a car.
I mean, it's valid. That's valid.
When I say scratch off, I think like if you take like a warm sponge, you can kind of like go back and forth on a water slide and mess it up enough to peel it back off. But I don't know. I'm not trying to convince you at this point, man. I think you're pretty much set at that. You're not going to do it, but like Caleb and I are probably going to do it at some point and do a reveal.
I mean, I think I would do it if it was on like a Ty Gibbs like that win, like an A.
Oh my god!
On like an ARC, maybe I could try to do it, but that.
Listen here, you snob.
But a Kurt Busch Kansas Elite, I mean, no, can't do it. Can't do it.
Okay, well, some of us don't live in the elite world, so I'm gonna do it. I do like that Ryan Newman though. That's an awesome reveal, man.
Yeah.
People forget about Rocket Man. Man, that guy was. There was a time where he was kind of came in with Jimmy Johnson, and I mean, he was kicking butt there for a little while.
For sure, yeah.
Do you guys have anything to add for the outro?
Yeah, I mean, Caleb, do you got anything? I'll go last.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to a couple people. NASCAR Superman on Twitter, constantly retweeting us and shouting us out. I appreciate that. We appreciate that as always. And then the nice girl at Bristol, I do want to thank her for listening to the podcast and listening in and always interacting on social media apparently, and really appreciate that. And talking to her a bit, and that was pretty cool to talk with one of our listeners and get some feedback and see how we're doing and what she enjoys about it and what she likes about it. So appreciate those two, and NASCAR Superman and the little worker at Bristol who gets paid minimum wage, as I found out. So shout out to those two for tuning in every week.
Absolutely, man. Good job finding us some listeners and shouting them out on the pod, man. I'm actually going to just tell y'all to end this show, boys. I'm starting to worry a lot, man. I'm told you I was all in. Then he gets a win early. His pit crews consistently ripping off the fastest stops of the races. I think there was like an 8.8 second pit stop a couple weeks ago. I think they rattled off some other sub nines. I really think they're putting everything together. Chris Gabehart, amazing crew chief. Denny Hamlin's a hell of a NASCAR driver. This could be the start of something big for that 11 team and Jogi's race. Now, if you think about it, and he even mentioned this, if you count the Clash, I mean, he's already got 2 wins. Caleb is not buying it. Caleb is not buying it, but I'm telling you, man, give us another month or two, and if you might be naming one of our episodes Denny Domination or something, man. Listen, I mean,
look,
coming from a Kyle fan, I'm just saying, man, this guy's got it together this year.
I won't even fault it because I was telling Thomas leaving the track. I've seen Denny win 4 times. I said I wouldn't be surprised if it's another 4 more this season. To be honest, adding 4 more wins to the list, or another three more to some races we go to. So I definitely think by the end of this season, it'll be. I've seen him. I will have seen Denny win at least 8 or 7 times.
Wow.
In my life. So I do think he'll win some more races, especially ones we're at for sure.
Yeah.
I want to say that yesterday was my first time ever seeing Denny win in person, and I was quite happy with that.
Oh wow. Yeah. Caleb's seen him 4, I've seen him 3, and now you got one. I definitely think we're going to see another Denny win this year for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know how many, but I just think, man, that's a scary team right now. Scary. That's it for me, man.
Maybe another Coke 600 win.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Absolutely, I can see that.
I wouldn't doubt Richmond. I wouldn't doubt Martinsville either.
Never know, man.
Yeah, for some reason I got him. The Virginia tracks he shows up for. Yeah. So I'm, our next 2 races are in Virginia, boys. I'm kind of concerned. Man. That 11 team, man, watch out. Concerned in a good way, I will say.
Yeah. All right, you guys got anything else?
I'm good.
Nah, that's it.
All right, guys. Thanks to all our listeners for listening to the NASCAR Nuts and Bolts podcast. You can find us on Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Thank everybody for listening, and tune in next week for episode 13.